Hi everyone, and today we will be reviewing quite possibly my favorite book ever written. Yeah, that's right. Not Darkstalker or any of the Lord of the Rings books or even A Song of Ice and Fire. This is probably my favorite book ever written. But before we go on with the video, there will be spoilers and major ones at that. I'm sorry, but this book is simply too good to try and explain it without going into at least a little bit of the details. And yes, I know you've probably heard it before, but please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Anyway, sorry about that. But this review will be split into 5 sections rather than my usual 4. First, I will try to give a brief overview, then my initial thoughts after reading the book, pros and cons, a hopefully entertaining rant that you should probably skip anyway, and then our conclusion. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. So in the book, not only do we follow Snowfall, Swordtail, and Raven, the scavenger, as our book, prologue, and epilogue points of view, but also through the gift of vision, Atala and Tau, and Blue and Io of the Silkwings, and Bryony of the Leafwings, and Raven the Pantalan scavenger, and also Jerboa and her daughter Jerboa II / Jerboa III. So there are quite a few points of view. A lot of things happen in the book, so I'm going to do a separate breakdown video, but the most important things character-wise are Snowfall's dynamic with Lynx going from not quite enemies to a queen and her advisor to an actual friendship. I thought was done really well, even though it didn't seem like there was a lot going on with it. I think when you look closer into the book, you do really see it developing over time. Number 2, I thought Snowfall getting insight onto the lives of Pantalan refugees through the gift of vision, which I'll get to, was kind of psychologically horrifying, but also a brilliant way of exploring different locations and characters on both continents, and is a clever way of sliding some important stuff into a book where, well, if you just stick to the main plot, not a lot of things are actually happening. Number 3, I just really like Snowfall's character, and I think that Tui had the right idea expanding on her family to make her easier to sympathize with. I would have liked having maybe another voice in her head telling her that Crystal wouldn't have betrayed her earlier on in the book, but I understand why that wasn't there, so I can't really complain. Also, she sounds a lot like Sanami, who was probably my favorite out of the original Dragonettes, so I guess that's just more personal for me. And number 4, we got the 31-page flashback section on Jerboa and Jerboa II / Jerboa III. However, while I found the scenes with Jerboa III amazing, the best part of these chapters, in my opinion, is how Snowfall simply accepts and understands why Jerboa made the choice she did. While I could rant about this for quite a while, that's exactly what the rant section is for. Haha, I bet you didn't see that one coming. Alright, so now that you know what the rant section is for, let's talk about the most important things plot-wise. Number 1. Well, similarly to my predictions for the book, nothing particularly important actually happens with the protagonist, Snowfall, and it's really everyone getting together, making peace, and learning more about the past and the Breath of Evil. Speaking of which, I found the fact that the Abyss, which I'm like 90% sure is the same hole we see in Book 11, and its scavenger inhabitants having something to do with the other mind, pretty cool. And I have a lot of ideas on how Tui can use this in Book 15, which I think we're really getting to see how Dragon Slayer is tying into the rest of the story. And also, before Book 14 came out, I was seriously considering making a video on while I was mostly certain Jerboa II / III did not get rid of animus magic. So that was a lie. However, I do think that Tui did a great job with the reveal of Jerboa having removed animus magic. And while reading the epilogue of the Poisoned Jungle initially, I condemned Jerboa. Tui made her actually really understandable, and not the cringy cartoon villain I was kind of expecting and dreading at the same time. Number two. Okay, I know this is more world building than plot, but I just like the secret treasury idea. I mean, it is somewhat odd that Lynx, the daughter of a minor noble, has at least heard tell of it, while Winter, a literal prince, is oblivious to its existence. But it's pretty clear that Tui came up with it specifically for this book, so it's unfair to hold that particular thing against it. We did get expansion on the topic of Icewing gifts, though, and some Icewing anime that contradicted the conventional gifts, something I've wanted and questioned the lack of since the prologue of Darkstalker. And number three, Io and the Jewel Hive Chrysalis are, or are about to be, captured by the other mind. Now, I know you think I'm crazy, but I do want them to not only be captured, but also executed or killed in a valiant last stand. Why? Because I really don't see how they're going to be important going forward, and I think it would significantly raise the stakes that the other mind poses. It would also give the dragons close to them more development opportunities, and it would also, at this point, be pretty unrealistic if they survived unscathed. Initial thoughts. What did I think of this book? Well, as you know, I thought it was really good, even for a Wings of Fire book, which are some of the, if not the best out there. And I know this sounds strange, coming from someone who likes to see large scale battles and how people are affected by war. But I loved how this book wasn't really about anything other than the point of view, Snowfall. I mean, yes, there were quite a few reveals, which I'll get to, and a good amount of plot introduced via the Gift of Vision and the Tribal Summit. They were all incorporated in a way that helped Snowfall's character grow. It didn't feel like a complete 180 from a spiteful, cruel dragon to a good friend because it wasn't that at all. Snowfall does have a gentler side to her, and that, combined with a bit of empathy and wisdom, creates a character whom, by the end of the book, we understand. But now for the pros and cons. Pros. While the point of view choice certainly wasn't conventional by any means, I think that Tui made an excellent decision, and the other points of view didn't feel forced, but both helped the reader and Snowfall herself better understand the character and the situation on Pantala. Another thing I liked was how the book was much slower than the others that preceded it, and I like how the pacing of the books is sort of getting slower and slower as they progress, and I think this is a good representation of the evolution of Tui's writing style. And while the plot is somewhat less central, it gives us so much more on the characters themselves, which is kind of the point of having revolving points of view. Snowfall isn't a predictable character, but once she executes her actions, the reader understands how and why she did what she did. Oh, it's nice to have a cunning protagonist from time to time. Speaking of which, the scene where Snowfall confronts the Pantalan refugees and unveils her invisible army is just so badass. I'm pretty sure it's the same scene that's on the cover, and there really isn't another word for it. And I like seeing how Snowfall isn't at all naive and isn't wholly good like other protagonists. Blue Moonface. Though I wouldn't go so far as calling her a great character, she's definitely conflicted. Also, Snowfall has quite the sense of humor, and her scenes with or regarding Nightwings are particularly good. When she called Moonwatcher Moonface, I straight up died. So that's what we're calling her from now on. And finally, that Jerboa scene was just emotional perfection in every way. I know she wasn't meant to seem that way, but I found the first Jerboa incredibly disturbing and messed up from the get-go, and I just loved the scene where Jerboa the Third turns on her psychotic mother and becomes her own dragon. We also get to see how kind of a dragon Glacier was, which unfortunately completely invalidates my Icewing ambitions theory. But it is a great scene, so I'm not really sure I care. Another thing I love about this is Snowfall's reaction. It isn't anger, as you might expect, but it's understanding, and I love how she doesn't do anything to confront Jerboa. For the cons, though, these are mostly nitpicks, and they're not very big, so, you know. So while Snowfall's character changes are certainly appreciated, I do think it happened too quickly. Yeah, she had the gift of vision to give her empathy, and we know that part of the reason Snowfall hated Nightwings in the first place was because of her enchanted crown, but I still think it happened too quickly. And this isn't Tui's fault. It's just that 316 pages are simply not enough, in my opinion, to have her character shift as much as it did. Also, we are told that the gift of vision shows you the most important thing going on in the world, be it past or present, or on Pyria or Pantala. Thing is, what if some Icewind Queen had it on and something important was going on Pantala? While Opal, the Animus dragon who created it, does tell us that it only appears to queens that need it most, there is no reason that these two can't happen at once, and I can't get the image out of my head of a terribly confused Icewind Queen just waking up from a dream with a weird magic ring on that just, I don't know. It's weird, okay? Now it is time for the rant. You should probably skip this section and go straight to the conclusion, but if you're here already, why not stay? Alright, I've warned you now, and you seriously cannot blame me for this, so let's get started. As you can see, I have 25 bookmarks in here, assuming I know how to count, which is a pretty big assumption, which I will now talk about. I'm just going to get rid of this since it's bothered me on my other takes. Go away. And now we're going to get into the first post-it. This is page 14 and 15. I think this was part of the second excerpt, chapter 1, I believe. And basically, it's where Snowfall is having the conversation with her scout who sees the dragons from the Lost Continent. And basically, Snowfall is, well, she's being Snowfall. And I think it's really funny, especially this paragraph. Well, if they're not Nightwings, what are they? She asked. He hesitated, and she answered her own question. Rainwings? Rainwings, of course. That's the only tribe with so many colors. So perhaps with the Sea Wings. Those can be green. It's probably a group of Rainwings and Sea Wings. Why would Rainwings and Sea Wings form an alliance to invade my kingdom from the west? Her brain screamed. Coral and Glory have betrayed me. They decided I'm too young to be queen, and they're coming for my throne, which is very unfair because Glory's the same age as I am, and she's the queen of 2 tribes. So, it's funny, especially, alright, this bit that comes right after. Alright, Queen Glory probably wasn't coming to depose Snowfall because of her age. So, it's funny, okay? Now, this is another part in the same chapter where we get Snowfall working on the wall. I think that is the Gift of Order, the ranking wall, and more capital letters, which is fun. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. And I guess it's just Tundra being annoying and Snowfall getting really mad at her but not being able to talk back. Which is funny, I guess. And then, now, I know this is a lot of post-its in very close proximity, but that's because there's a lot of good stuff in very close proximity, so it's justified. So here, this is also the start of chapter 2. It's page 26, where Snowfall is, in the last line of the previous chapter, she thinks someone's watching her. Basically, she realizes it's Lynx, and they have a conversation. Yeah, and it's sort of, I guess, they're just talking about queenship in general, and I think it helps develop both of their characters a lot when we've really only seen them both from external viewpoints that don't really care that much about them. So yeah, all right, and this is the same page that I made a specific video about, page 32, 33, and I think there's a bit on 34 as well, and 35, where basically it's a flashback scene where Queen Glacier is talking to her daughters, and basically she selects Snowfall to be queen. This section is getting a bit longer, so just go watch that if you want to hear more about it. Okay, now. Alright, this one passage. I think you're just as scary as any army all on your own, Link said, without any magic. Ha, Snowfall snorted. I only have like 7 non-magical weapons on me. We need thousands of weapons to drive these dragons away. Link glanced down at her claws, as if she'd only just noticed that those were the only weapons she'd brought. Really? 7 weapons? Yes, of course, Snowfall said. She pointed to the spear on her back. Spear? Then to the knives in the sheaths at her wrists. Knife, then the sheaths under her wings, the concealed pockets of her chainmail armor, and the pouch around her neck. Knife, throwing stars, poison. She didn't mention the 3 other hidden weapons, just in case Lynx was actually working for Crystal, or you get the gist. It's funny, though. Oh, and then this one gives us a viewpoint on what happens in Darkness of Dragons. It's another flashback scene, where basically it's amplifying all of Snowfall's inner insecurities by hearing all of the other Ice Wings in their heads thinking about what an incompetent and young ruler and so naive she's probably going to be. And I think it's really, really good for her character moving forward. And then, this is her meeting the dragons from the Lost Continent and getting really mad at Moonface. I mean Moonwatcher. Duh, of course I mean that. Right? Or wait, no, that's another one. Oh, and it's Tsunami and Snowfall just hating each other, which is kind of sad because they're really similar, but no. And the part I was talking about earlier, where Snowfall magically conjures an entire army. It's really fun. And, this section is getting long and stuff, but I warned you to go away if you didn't want to watch it. Okay? Now, this is the, basically, Snowfall sort of trying to justify to herself sending all the, needy refugees away, and it's also our introduction to Ivory, who, as a character, I'm not sure why she's so dedicated to Snowfall. Maybe she is just genuinely loyal, but I am sort of hoping to see what she's more like in the future books. And we get to sort of hear that, right, she does appear to be very loyal, but who knows in Wings of Fire. Okay. Now this is more of Snowfall just being angry at everything, which is strangely funny at the same time. And it's sort of mentioning more of what we sort of heard in Book 3 about disputed lands between the Ice and Sand Kingdom. And then she's saying that it's territory that was definitely hers. Right? So I guess that's more of not a callback, but I really appreciate having it acknowledge things like that I was unsure of earlier. Oh, the Moonface scene I was talking about earlier. It's fun, and it's on page 88 if you want to read it yourselves, which you should, definitely. And then basically them all deciding to bring all the refugees to Sanctuary. And then it's the scene where she sort of arrives at Sanctuary and she notices that another Ice Wing is watching her, who we're going to learn is Crystal, her sister. Oh, okay, and this is on the next page. I don't actually care, she informed Winter. You can go ahead and study hugs and whatever nonsense happens at that school if you want to. I don't know. Just funny. Aha. It's all the Queen's meeting, which I'm not going to really elaborate on. I just like that it happened. There's nothing really great about that scene. I mean, aside from the fact that the whole book is great, of course, but I mean, there's nothing particularly intriguing about that. Oh. And here is Snowfall, sort of, I don't know, the lost continent dragons growing on her, right? Where she wakes up from her dream with the gift of vision, knowing how Luna and stuff are going to get captured. Or, not Luna, whatever, Io. Which, I mean, I know I said this earlier, but I am hoping they actually die, since, I don't know, higher stakes, and I don't see how she's important from the plot going on. Okay. And then this one passage. Is there anywhere else we can put them? Ruby asked. She turned to Glory. It sounds like they might be happiest in the rainforest. So Glory can be the queen of 4 tribes? Snowfall heard herself snap. Which is, it's funny. And then it's the queen's being completely dumbfounded at the idea of sending an army across the ocean to fight the breath of evil, which, I mean, it makes sense, but I also think that scene was written to be funny. Okay, now it's Sky and Snowfall meeting. Another one where I guess this scene is just cute and there's nothing really intriguing about it, but it's a nice nod to the book that came before, so. Oh, and then more Snowfall being confused and angry at life, which is page 223. Just random stuff. Okay, now page 225, where she gets the dream about Raven, a scavenger, right? And we sort of learn more about the abyss and stuff. We hear that something is changing, right? Weird things are happening. All right. And then we hear, like, all the dragons hearing, talking, not all the dragons, but all the dragons in the area, in Sanctuary, talking to, like, Ran and stuff. And then it's Snowfall, revealing that she knows about, about the dream, I guess, and she's sort of telling people about it now. And, this might be an error, because, Winter and all the characters that live on, like, Pyrea aren't confused about the mention of books on Pantala, which, I mean, it's a bit of a nitpick, I suppose, because we know in the real world it doesn't have to have pages to be called a book. A scroll can be called a book too, but in Wings of Fire, if it's a scroll, they call it a scroll. So, who knows? Alright, and this scene. This is probably my favorite scene in the whole book. Maybe even all of literature. And it's where Jerboa turns on her mother. Or Jerboa III turns on Jerboa I. I'm not going to read it right now. I'm just going to save that for another occasion. But it's really, really good. Page 275 and onward. It's really, really good. And then it's the same Jerboa III realizing that what her mother did with the enchantment of the last minute enchantment Jerboa I cast on her for Jerboa to lose a body part every time she does animus magic, which, like a lot of other stuff in this book, is disturbing, but it's interesting. Okay, and then this is more of Queen Glacier's character development. More in validation of my perfectly good theories about Glacier being a complete evil psychopath. Anyway, yeah, it's Glacier being really kind to Jerboa, even though, I mean, like, she doesn't have to, which is pretty nice, I guess. And then this is more of Snowfall's insecurities, and then it's them realizing that the Ice-Wing crown makes you hate Nightwings, which, I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I guess I'll just talk about it later, but I don't know. And then, this is her, Snowfall, meeting Opal, the person dragon who enchanted the Gift of Vision in the first place. Again, I'm not going to read it, but whatever. And this is the final post-it. It's been like 15 minutes, so I guess whatever. But you signed up for this, so don't say anything. Okay, it's another Glacier flashback. At this time, induced by Opal into Snowfall's mind. Another thing that's pretty terrifying when you think about it, but you don't really think about it the first time you're reading it. And yeah, basically, she's thinking about how she's going to make Snowfall the queen after her, and I just thought it was a really good scene. And then this one, this epilogue, I didn't mark it, but they're going to sacrifice a dragon. That's scary. Yeah. Conclusion. So, you know I love The Dangerous Gift. You know why I love The Dangerous Gift. And you know I've been talking for way too long, so I'll keep this short. I won't lie, this book was slow. Not a lot of stuff happens in it. However, Snowfall's character is both entertaining and interesting. All of the points of view are compelling, and all of them that Tui wants us to are easy to sympathize with. Jerbilla's first. And the writing is just incredible. Was the book worth the wait and multiple delays? I don't know. I think it varies from person to person, but I personally am extremely satisfied with Wings of Fire Book 14, The Dangerous Gift. Thank you for watching, and please remember to like if you enjoyed the video, comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe to my channel for more Wings of Fire content. Remember that every dragon has a story, and I'll see you in the next video.